it's such a powerful concept. It's so simple, and yet I really think very few traders define that. It's an agreement with yourself, and you would
Yeah,
think that that agreement with yourself is a necessary part of becoming a trader, and yet very few have even could even define what that agreement with themselves is.
I tried to emphasize it and put it out there, but for me, I wouldn't say I had the psychological contract in the sense that I had this kind of thing I had to sign, but it was evolving and it was adapting, and
Yeah,
and I told myself that for my style of trading, I'm going to have these sort of circumstances happen,
yeah.
and I've got to accept them on the way to making money. So one of my, and I used to use these mantras, like so, learn to love your losses was a way of helping me cope with setbacks and accepting that, on the way to victory, I'm going to have a lot of losses, and some might be bigger than others. Equally, my style of trading wasn't one where I traded every day, and
Mm,
there could be long gaps, sometimes weeks or months between a winning trade.
mhm.
And I had to psychologically prepare myself for that.
Yeah.
So part of that psychological contract with me was I came up with this mantra I used to call the London buses approach,
Mm.
which was, when I grew up, our buses were dreadful. We'd wait hours and then three would come along at once.
Oh, gosh.
Um, and I used to use that as my metaphor for my psychological
Mhm.
contract is, don't worry that you haven't made money for 2, 3 months. There's going to be a whole lot of trades coming along together like London buses.
So fair.
Okay. And that would always happen. And you'd say to yourself, they're always going to come along. You don't know when.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't know if it's in the next 10 minutes or the next 10 weeks, but they will come along, and just stay with it. And that was part of my
Beautiful.
psychological contract that I
Beautiful.
made with myself.
So just that self-awareness of, fortifying your loins, that is what you're walking into. Uh, what stops traders from fortifying that mental preparation? What do you think keeps them from
I,
doing that?
I think, and this is part of what was behind the book, I didn't really know what I was doing when I was trading.
Mhm,
Okay. You get into it. No one really tells you what it is.
mhm.
You sit down at a trading desk, you watch a few other guys, you might have a few people give you some hints and ideas, and buy here, sell here, and you start to realize, you start to learn the different fundamental processes that drive markets. You might learn, a technical analysis approach. You might try and build a little bit of a system. Um, and we just do it. And you know, some people get better at it than others. Sometimes you have a bit of luck. Okay. Things fall into place, but we never really think, what is it we're actually doing?
Mhm,
Okay. What is the job?
mhm.
And it wasn't till I don't think till I had that experience about halfway through my career where I was coached, where I actually sat back and sort of started to look at myself, and I started to think, what is it I actually do?
Wow.
Okay. And I had a very profound moment during that that coaching process where the coach had done a psychometric analysis, and he said to me, you come up as really highly analytical on here, Steve. And I sort of went, okay, interesting. He said, yeah, I'm surprised you're a trader. I would take you as too analytical to be a trader. Now he was using some of his own sort of stereotypes of what traders were, and he
Yeah.
thought they were very risk-seeking, very,
Mhm.
they didn't overdo the analysis, etc. But for me, I was like, yeah, it was interesting what he said. Maybe he's got a point there. Because I was really good at analysis. I
Yeah.
was really good at finding value. I was really good at spotting opportunities. Okay, and that's probably what had got me to where I was at that point.
Right.
But when I reflected on that, I thought he's right, and he's right in the sense that I'm actually not very good at taking and managing risk. I'm okay at it, but I'm not good at it. And
Mhm.
actually, this job is not analysis. This job is risk. So that 13 years into my career, I'm suddenly, you know, there's a light bulb moment. The job is risk. The job is not finding value in the market. You find value in the market to get you into positions, but it's you who has to then take them.
Wow.
And if you look at that process cycle in the book, you know, the left-hand side of it is all about preparation for the
Mm.
trade, okay,
Yes.
for positioning. It's
Yes.
not, you haven't got anything on yet. It's
No.
getting yourself in the right state, doing the right things, planning the trade, etc., coming up with the ideas. But then it's the risk bit, it's the performance bit. That's what the job is.
Yeah.
And we don't think about it like that.
Yeah. So
So
true.
for me, it was, I taught myself, actually, and this is probably a bit of the psychological contract, I've got to become a better risk taker. I've got to find a process for taking risk. Okay. That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Okay. It's no good just coming up with ideas.
Right.
Okay. I've got to get better at taking risk if I really want to succeed at this.
Yeah.
And again, that was part of my psychological contract. You
Yeah.
know, and what sort of person am I? I'm not someone who's going to sit there and put a big position on and sit with it for months. That is not me.
Yeah.
That's not my
Totally.
personality. So there's no
Totally.
point thinking of risk like that. I've got to find a style of taking risk that captures my best skills, my best, the analysis, which I'm really good at.
Yeah.
I've got to find a way to capture that. Okay. And I've got to find methods and techniques where I can do that. And that's what I really started to develop after that, after going through that coaching process. So again, it wasn't the coach giving me that. That was an example of him catalyzing something for me and me really taking it away and reflecting on it.
Yeah. Well, you were willing to hear him and contemplate and ruminate and digest it. And then that's what I think is so powerful about coaching. It facilitates people coming up with their own solutions.
But yeah, it's interesting because, had someone said that to me, I think in the workplace, um, in that setting, I'd have probably pushed back on them, going, no, I'm good at taking it. It probably would have felt like an attack, a personal affront,
Yep.
and I probably would have rejected that,
Mm.
at the work desk or
Yeah.
whatever, or even if we'd have had a conversation, and my ego would have come in and felt challenged. But in that really safe environment where you're in a coaching conversation,
Yeah.
I felt really safe to hear that,
Yeah.
and I didn't reject it.
Yeah.
I wondered why I never got any personal affront, but it was delivered within the concept of a coaching contract,
Yeah.
within that
No
concept of
judgment.
honesty and feedback
Yeah.
and, sort of curiosity and discussion that was part of that process.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I was much more receptive to it. And like I said, he never, I don't think the coach realized that was a big moment. But
Wow.
for me, I came up with this kind of two hats. So again, part of that psychological contract. I can't remember whether I talk about that in the book. This idea of two hats. One is an analyst hat that
Yes.
finds value, and another one is a trading hat, a risk hat, where it's how the hell do I monetize this?
That's right.
What do I need
That's
to be
right.
doing?
That's right.
How do I manage my risk? How do I
Yes.
get out of it when I'm wrong?
But that
How do I recognize when I'm
consciousness,
wrong? Yeah, how do I
s-
recognize when I'm wrong?
totally, totally. And be able to look at that without judgment and get caught up in just being wrong instead of seeing it as just an opportunity to be right.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's part of it. So that's part of the you bit, the sort of your being bit, the being optimal.
Yes.
That the not digging in and digging your heels in, and that's where the ego comes in. Screw the market. I'm just going to stay long. It's the process bit is actually no, the market's going against you, and your process said you should be getting out of here. But the ego comes in and goes, screw you, process. We're staying long. We're not giving up on this. We're not taking the loss.
Exactly.
But the process bit says, no, the story's changed.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to see the full episode, please click here. I hope you have subscribed to the Wall Street Coach podcast. And if you haven't, it's time to do so. See you on the next podcast.